Our species this week can be found just about all over the Sunshine State, residing in our lakes, canals, rivers, and marshes.
And you know what? We can catch them all year round in a variety of different ways with shiners, topwater baits, crankbaits, and my personal favorite, the jubilating frog. Guess what, guys? We're talking about bass here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Welcome to our bass show on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. Rick, it's great to have you back with us this week because we are talking about all things bass, and we have a bunch of bass lovers in the audience with us, plus our friend from Real Legends.
You're absolutely right there, Brie. You know, bass certainly is not just a Florida species, certainly the most popular fishing species in the U.S., and I'm really excited about some of the tips and techniques that we're going to talk about tonight.
Yep, they're going to be good. Well, it looks like Dave has his own special guest teaming up with him at the CCA Workbench. Dave, are you all ready for a bass-tastic show of ours?
We are ready. I don't really have to do much tonight because we have Claiborne Reed here. He's a three-time high school Bassmaster qualifier, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the intricacies of the drop shot.
Nice.
That's correct.
You're doing his job today. I love it.
He's not getting paid, though.
Oh.
He's not getting my money.
Dave is. All right, we're getting our bass on first in the Casa Vieja Southwest region with Captain Ronnie Houston, who is giving you plenty of ways to catch them. Go for it, Ronnie.
Well, like always, it's a pleasure being here, and also I'd like to welcome all the guests in the audience tonight. You know, the largemouth bass, they can be caught throughout my whole region. You know, anywhere from the Peace River, heading south into the most local freshwater canals, golf courses, rock pits, drainage ditches, and actually all the way down to the Florida Everglades. Now, one of the key things this year is we've got low water. We haven't had a lot of rain. We need plenty of rain. But, you know, one of the common baits include topwater lures to locate these fish, like Berkeley Choppos, maybe the hijackers and the jaywalkers. And we're going to keep it simple, just a variety of worms, you know, like the Bass Assassin Fat Job. That's just the common Cinco. Or the Bass Assassin RSB worm. And you know, you don't really need to get too sophisticated. We're going to use the common colors like I've used since I was a little kid. You know, your watermelon, your June bug, your purple, and your black. Now that I mentioned that the water, you know, has been low, you want to concentrate right now, whether you're walking or in a boat, you want to target the edges. You want to target drop-offs. Look for areas of hydrilla, even areas of lily pads. And if we do get an abundance of rain, then you want to start going towards the spillways and the culverts and concentrate on those areas of flowing water. Now, one of the easiest way to find them really would be live shiners, free-lined, or under a cork. And I've got a nice picture of a bass that was just recently caught not too long ago in the Everglades backcountry, running out of the saltwater into the Gulf, into the backcountry. And one of the reasons we caught some of these fish up in the Los Angeles River area is we haven't had an abundance of water, so those fish are moving halfway out into the backcountry. Now, still staying on the inshore side, the redfish. Now, the bite to the south right now from Indian Key to Highland Beach seems to have been gotten a lot better. You know, I don't know if it's because we're approaching fall and these fish are moving in according to schedule like they normally do, September, October, down in the southern end. But the lower to mid tides have been best. When the tide tops out, guys, it's going to be difficult. But the key things to target would be on that lower water, feeder creek mouths, area of deadwood, also oyster bars and oyster bar bottom, simply by either chumming live pilchards or using cut baits, knocker rigged on the bottom. Now, I have had a lot of success finding schools of fish here in the last couple of weeks, locating them on low water, using chrome and bone Berkeley jaywalkers as they're coming after the bait but not really getting it. Then I follow up maybe with some gold spoons. You can also use soft plastic shrimp and paddle tails on the jig head. And I've got some fish that were just recently caught a couple days ago in the Take a Soldier fishing event. There's two fine military guys with a couple of nice redfish we caught while fishing that event. The offshore report. Now, I mentioned a while back that red snapper will be closing, but there are days that have been extended for the 2023 season for red snappers. But you want to get out in depth, probably starting at about 140 and beyond, looking for areas of bait raised off the bottom. Now, right now, you don't have a lot of pressure on these fish because they're not fishing for them every day during the week. Once you find them, it should not take long to reach your limits. Now, you can either anchor up or simply drifting are two ways to catch them. Being on the bottom, guys, is going to be the most important, and simple baits vary like cut baits, whether it be squid, herring, sardines, cut herring, or live pinfish. or even cigar minnows work just as well. And I got a picture of a boatload of fish on the offshore side of Take a Soldier fishing event that was just over the weekend. So there's plenty of red snappers to be caught. The last species is going to be the red and gag groupers. Wiggins Pass, the stump pass right now in depths of 80 feet and beyond. Now there's a variety of ways to target them in areas of hard bottom and ledges. You can drift by, bounce in the bottom with bucktails, with squid. Once you start to catch quality fish, simply come on back and anchor up in that area. You can continue to bounce the bottom or drop cut baits or use live pinfish. Just make sure you have a variety of weights with you in case we have strong currents to make sure you're on the bottom. And most of the time, the cut baits do work on the hard bottom, but those gags, generally you're going to find in some of these ledges using them live pinfish. So the weather's looking great for this weekend, guys. Get out. Hope you learned something tonight. Catch you some fish.
All right, Ronnie, thank you so much. It's time to take a look at the Serenity Bait Company hotspots from the Southwest region. Ronnie says inshore the trout from Indian Key to Highland Beach in areas of 2 to 4 feet of water on the low water, using those noise-making corks that he talked about with soft plastic paddle tails or maybe a live shrimp. And then offshore, cobias from Indian Key to Wiggins Pass, fishing wrecks and artificial reefs using large live baits, swim baits, or even bright-colored bucktails, Brie.
Ooh la la. In the Fish Bites East region, we get the Bass Report every week, but this week it's finally first on Captain Mike Holliday's list. So it's time to get out there early before the storm set in, right, Mike?
That's it, and it's my region I get to talk about, not just all over the state. You know, some of the best bass fishing in the country takes place in my region. We have Lake Okeechobee to the west in Palm Beach, Martin, and St. Lucie counties, and then there's the Fellsmere Reservoir west of Vero Beach, which is one of the hottest bass lakes in the country right now. There's legendary bass fisheries like that, but you don't want to overlook places like the Loxahatchee Wildlife Refuge, the Lake Ida Osborne chain, and the Stick Marsh and Garcia Reservoir, which are all in my region. And then there's all the small lakes, ponds, and canals that dot our landscape. I mean, in Florida, you can basically catch a bass out of a mud puddle. And in September, we're still following the summer pattern, which is focused on getting out early, usually before the light gets up, throwing topwater plugs or frogs around the edges of the grass, or looking for schooling fish feeding on the shad schools, and then throwing something at them that looks like a shad, like a Bass Assassin Elite Shiner or a Vapor Shad or a Split Tail Shad in either white or blue and white. You can also throw an all-white spinnerbait or a chrome and blue-back lipless plug. Those work pretty well in the school fish. And then as the day heats up, you want to switch tactics and go to fishing a June bug if the water's clear, or a watermelon red glitter-colored worm if the water's dirty. Working around the isolated grass patch. And, you know, average bass in my region is going to be like 1 to 4 pounds. I got a great photo of Emmy Chistic of Jupiter. She got this nice bass out of Headwaters Reservoir. She was fishing with Captain Nathan Schellen. She got that fish on a live shiner. The other thing we got going right now, the majority of snook that were in the inlets have moved back inside or out onto the beach. They're not in the inlets as much as they were. The mullet are starting to push, so the fish are focusing on mullet, working their ways down the shorelines and along the beaches in places like the Hope Sound Wildlife Refuge and the seawalls of the Loxahatchee and the St. Lucie River, as well as the west bank of the Indian River, north and south of the power plant. There's a really good time to throw topwater plugs along the shorelines. Start it out at dawn. If it's overcast, you can go deeper into the day, or you can fish, a saltwater assassin, Artemis shad around the jetties or around the bridges at night, particularly if it's a windy night. Live mullet, either free line or fish on a jig head, also work really well around the docks in the areas, particularly if there's moving water. If you got good moving water, put it on a jig head, let it get down a little bit. Average snook in my region is going to be 5 to 20 pounds. I got a photo of Taylor Bouchard of Fort Myers. She got the nice snook and the St. Lucie in it on a live pilchard.
All right, Mike, we got a little weather going by way to the east of us. What do you think is going to do to your offshore fishing this week?
Man, we're going to definitely have swells, and hopefully we can get out. Hopefully it's just big rolling swells. We're seeing a bit of a late season dolphin push through the region, and that bite isn't amazing, but it's consistent enough that if you put in the time, you'll find the action. The downside right now out there is the lack of weed lines and the approaching swell. So the majority of fish are being caught out deep off of birds, turtles, and floating objects like trees or boards. The bites spread out from 130 feet out to 1,000 feet or more. So this is a time you want to cover a lot of water. And you do that by pulling lures, feathers, or strip baits, or trolling ballyhoo with a green or a blue and white skirt. Pink and blue is a really good option. Another option is to grab a bunch of mullet and then run and gun with them. You just stop every mile or so and scan the horizon with binoculars, looking for birds or floating objects. If you see something good, run up to that, pitch out a mullet or two, see if the dolphin are around. If not, pick up, run again. Average dolphin in my region is 5 to 15 pounds. I got a photo of Winton Gustafson, who got this nice dolphin in 220 feet of water off Jupiter, fishing with Captain Charlie Stuve, and that fish ate a live mullet.
Nice. All right, tell us about the mutton snappers, Pop.
And, you know, September is a month where we see a lot of mutton snapper moving in closer to shore to feed on the hatching turtles and the bait fish schools, particularly the finger mullet that are pushing on the beach. So places like the reef off Peck's Lake, the sand pile off Stewart, and any of the patch reefs in my region in 30 to 50 feet of water have a good mix of mangrove and mutton snapper on them right now. The best fishing is at night, but the daytime bite's producing pretty well. For bait, it's pretty hard to beat a sardine, a pilchard, or a threadfin, or a finger mullet. Put them out on a 6/0 circle hook, 50-pound fluorocarbon leader, and just enough weight to hold bottom. You can also take a finger mullet or a smaller threadfin and put it on a half-ounce jig and drop it down. Average mutton right now that's inshore is going to be like 6 to 12 pounds. And the average mangrove is going to be 1 to 3 pounds, but there's plenty of them. I've got a photo of Danielle Williams in New Samaritan Beach. You got that nice mutton snapper on a dead sardine.
All right, Mike, thank you so much. Great report this week. I appreciate all those great photos. Hopefully everybody in the Central East region or East region will be able to get out and do a little fishing this week. All right, bud.
Good to see you guys. Tell your audience to be well.
All right, man. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the TH Marine hotspots. Mike says tarpon in Big Mud Creek, the dawn bite on live mullet, or maybe a saltwater assassin Houdini colored sea shad. And then offshore, jumbo mangrove snappers at nighttime in 70 feet south Fort Pierce using sardines, cigar minnows, or maybe a finger mullet as bait, Brie.
Fish Bites East region's looking pretty good. All right, we're seeing what lunkers lie in the Real Legends Central East region. But first, Dave Farrell is giving us a lunker lowdown for Academy Sports and Outdoors, rigs and techniques.
Yep, I just wanted to, we brought Claiborne in, but I just wanted to let everybody know that I can actually catch a bass too. They should have a picture.
How are they supposed to? What? Look at this.
I know that they don't trust me that much, but I can catch them.
Dave, we're clapping for you.
He's double fisted.
Double bassing.
Nice.
Good job, Dave.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Sirius XM Marine. Weather. Fish mapping. Entertainment. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa Vieja Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Shallow Sport. Legendary performance. Scoozy Performance Footwear, the captain's choice for premium lightweight comfort. And Daiquiri Deck, food, drinks, friends.
Well, as you can see, it's time for the Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques at the CCA workbench. And Dave, we've brought in Claiborne Reed.
Yes, like we said, a high school Bassmaster 3-time qualifier. Guy can probably catch way more bass than I do because I'm a cheater. I like to use shiners and he does not. So he's going to talk a little bit about the drop shot, right?
Yes, sir. We're going to talk about the drop shot today. We're just going to talk about the basic setup for it and where I like to use it.
Okay, well,
right,
go
so
ahead and show us what you got there.
Alrighty. This right here is a 1/4 ounce drop shot weight. Mm-hmm. I got this paired up with 10-pound braid, 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, and I like to use around like 10-foot fluorocarbon leader just because if I break off, I don't have to retie another leader again. So this is a 1/4 ounce tungsten drop shot weight, and then this is just an EWG 1/0 hook. I basically just Texas rig this.
Right.
For these Florida lakes around here, there's a lot of grass, a lot of brush piles, all those kind of things that you would be fishing this in.
Right.
So it's perfectly weedless when you just Texas rig it like this. And I like to use a 6-inch worm on it for largemouth.
Right.
And that's a Bass Assassin tap out.
And this is a Bass Assassin tap out.
Nice. Is there a favorite color you like?
This is my favorite color. This is red bug. I would keep it simple. I would just go with the water clarity, black and blue and stained water, green pumpkin and clear water, and also red bug and clear water.
So you also like to fish these in different places. Like most of the time when we're out on a boat, we're always casting to the shore. We're working the shoreline, but the drop shot works out in the open.
Yes, sir. So I like to offshore bass fish a lot in Florida, which a lot of people don't like to do. So you have less pressured fish, and the bigger fish overall just like to be up offshore. They feel safer, less predators, and it provides a better forage for them.
So what do you do in order to, because a lake's big, and when we have small water column, it's easy to see a fish, it's easy to know he's there or not. When you go deep, now all of a sudden something changes.
Yes, sir.
So what are you doing to know that you're fishing around fish, Claiborne?
Well, there's a few steps to that. First step is study your maps, contour lines, drop-offs, ditches, you have flats, all those kinds of areas you want to look for bass in. I use my Humminbird side scan. And you can use Lowrance. Any graph really works for side scan. You can see the bass. You can look for structures such as brush piles. You can look for shell bars. All those kinds of areas Florida bass love to set up on all year round, pre-spawn, post-spawn, and summer and wintertime.
What else you got, Dave?
Do you ever fish? We were talking earlier about channel markers and stuff. It doesn't. And when we're talking about offshore, it really doesn't. We're not even talking about the depth, are we? We're talking. It could be.
Sir.
You can be in real shallow water, but a long way away from the shore, in Florida especially.
Oh yeah, you can be, offshore is anything you can't see with your eye. That's off the bank. You can be in 1 foot of, you can be 1 foot of water. I fished in 3 foot of water and caught multiple fish on a drop shot, fishing a flat way out from the bank.
Yeah, and do you like to use those shell bottoms as well?
Yes, sir. Gizzard shad during winter like to spawn in shell bottom. So a lot of the big bass will get up there during winter. Summertime, same thing. Shad love to be on shell bottom. It's hard bottom for them to spawn on, and they feel safe too.
Right.
So.
And I noticed that you're using the EWG hook, and a lot of people use, when they're using drop shots, are using a straight shank hook instead of the EWG wide gap. What's your reasoning for using the wide gap?
So my reasoning for the EWG wide gap is because during summer, especially at the start of summer, the fish's mouths get really soft. So using a straight shank hook, they can shake the hook out really easy. So I like to use the EWG. When you hook a fish, it locks in right here, just like that, and it keeps it locked in, and they can't shake it out as easy as they could a straight shank hook.
Well, I appreciate you coming in now. Where can people go to keep up with you? What's your Instagram?
My Instagram is Claiborne_Reed_fishing if you guys want any more tips or just want to watch my journey through Bassmaster High School and up, you can go there and watch that.
And don't forget to thank those sponsors,
Yes,
Alta,
sir.
Bahio, and Bass Assassin.
Yes, sir. I thank
Take care of you on
Alta.
that. Right?
Absolutely.
Right, Brie? I know a little bit about the sponsor stuff.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. That was good stuff over there, gentlemen.
Great job, bud.
Yes,
Thank
good
you.
job. All right, the Real Legend Central East region has plenty of bass bragging to do, so let's get my former co-host, Captain Jim Ross, on the screen to see how it's done. Hi, Jim.
Hey, Brie, and the rest of the gang and the live audience. Hey, I tell you what, bass fishing in my region is really starting to pick up because it's starting to cool off. And the cooler the temperatures, the hotter the bite seems to get in the fall time in my region. So guys and gals that are wanting to do some bass fishing, now's the time to get out there because like they were just saying, you can use a variety of techniques to catch fish. You can fish around the hydrilla, you can fish around the shell bars. There's fish pretty much everywhere right now. The main thing you want to do is find the lures, find the baits, and that's where you're gonna get your bite at. So for lures, topwater lures, frogs fished around grass lines and lily pads are really producing well right now. The do-nothing worms are also really good, especially in the clear water areas where you can use like a Bass Assassin tap out or the Bass Assassin fat job. They're really good options, especially if the fish aren't feeding as aggressively as they will sometimes in the morning or evening when they're chasing shad around and things of that nature. Look for areas with egrets and herons that are feeding along the edges of the lakes. These are really productive spots. Those guys are professionals at what they do, and you need to pay attention to them because they're going to tell you where the bait is and where the bass are going to be. The ocean's churned up this weekend, and so a lot of our local lakes, ponds, canals, these are great fallback areas for guys to get out and catch some fish this weekend. And here's a little pond that Emma and Mason were fishing here recently. Whoa. And look at the size of that nice little bass they got.
Wow. I like
Good
that my
stuff.
man is wearing camo. He's sneaking up on the basses. All right, man. Tell us what else is happening for you this week, bud.
Rick, offshore is going to be dwindling down. We've got this churning coming in from Hurricane Lee, and the Atlantic is really getting big right now. It's going to mess things up for a while. So what we're going to do is, instead of trying to tell you about what may or may not happen after the storm, I'm going to tell you what's going to be happening this weekend so that you guys and gals can get out there and catch something. All 3 inlets right now are solid bets. Bait run is going on, the mullet run's going on. You're going to catch a variety of fish at these places. Ponce Inlet, the Port Canaveral Basins, and Sebastian Inlet, and specifically west of the A1A bridge at Sebastian, are going to be fishable even though the offshore waters may not be. We've got lots of snook, redfish, mangrove snapper, and jacks right now. You can also throw in a couple of other species. And, at nighttime, an R&R jig is working really well in those outgoing flows. And then in the daytime, a sliding sinker rig tipped with a live fingerling mullet or a medium-sized mullet should be a very effective ways to target those variety of species. I've got a picture here of a nice little redfish recently caught at one of the jetties. And this is the kind of action that you guys can expect to have this weekend, even though the offshore waters are a little churned up. Now, swinging inshore, mangrove snapper, the overhanging trees, oyster bars, docks, and pilings are all holding good numbers of mangrove in the New Smyrna area right now, especially all the way down towards Edgewater. And then in Sebastian and Wabasso, very, very good fishing down there. Live shrimp, small bait fish on a light jig head or a split shot rig with a circle hook are working really good. And you can find them. If you find them and you can chum them up, you're going to get that much better of a bite. And sometimes on the channel edges near rocky areas, you can get that to happen, and you can get some really, really aggressive bites going, just like you would if you're on an offshore reef or wreck. Most of our snapper are running about 10 to 15 inches right now, but there's a couple of bigger ones. Here's a nice little chunky one we caught the other day.
Man, that looks like dinner to me, bud.
That's
All
what I'm
right,
talking
one more
about.
to go. Tell us about the tarpon this week, Jimmy.
Tarpon are hot one day and slow the next right now, Rick. The backwaters, rivers, and lagoons, I have not figured what these fish are doing this last couple of weeks, and I wish I could tell you, but here's what I can tell you. Persistence pays, and you're going to reap the rewards if you go ahead and just continue to try for these fish. You'll get them to strike. One day they're eating finger mullet, the next day it's pinfish, the next day they want a croaker, the next day they're eating a dead bait. I can't, there's no pattern right now, but what I can tell you is, once again, persistence pays off. And for the juvenile tarpon, you can find them in the residential canals through Cocoa Beach, Melbourne, and Satellite Beach. They're eating little glass minnows style, little jigs, little panfish assassins, and flies are working really good. And our average fish is running about 30 to 60 pounds. Here's a river tarpon that I've got a picture of that we got the other day. So you can see there's some pretty decent sized ones still out there, and a lot of them have some good color in them.
That's a nice fish for the river, bud. Good job.
One last thing I wanted to say is, so this is my Pin Slammer DX. Let me get it in front of the camera here.
Got it.
This is the size rod and reel that you want to chase those larger fish with, that 55, 6500 size. For those little fish, you can drop down to a 45 or 3500 and catch them. But that DX series is a really cool little reel, and I love the drag on them. Hopefully you guys and gals get a chance to get out there this weekend and catch a lot of fish.
That's really good advice. Thank you so much, Jim. We're going to go and take a look at the Rodan Marine System hotspots from the Real Legend Central East region. Jimmy says that the snook at the Sebastian Inlet use live croakers or a mullet on a sliding sinker rig west of the A1A bridge. And then offshore, the swells from the Hurricane Lee is going to trash the ocean. Anglers are getting out once the seas subside. We'll mostly likely get into a bunch of sharks in the offshore reefs or maybe wrecks. But guess what? You can always go bass fishing, right, Brie?
That's true. We can always go bass fishing.
Now, speaking of cool things, Brie, CCA is always a leader in what we do in restoration here in the state of Florida. Let's take a look at this package that we did in regards to oyster reefs.
Let's see it.
Oyster reefs are the single most imperiled marine habitat on Earth, with over 85% of natural reefs lost. Within Charlotte Harbor, over 90% of our oyster reefs have disappeared. It's no wonder we have water quality issues. You see, the oyster is a water filtering powerhouse that removes nutrients. The same nutrients that the oysters remove fuel algal blooms. Some science suggests that this 90% loss of oyster reefs could be adding to the water quality issues we're experiencing. Red tide, blue-green algae, fish kills, toxic water, habitat loss. These are real things with real causes and real consequences. That's where a group of CCA volunteers, supporters, and staff stepped in.
Once the local CCA Charlotte chapter identified that oyster restoration is what they wanted to do, we had to find a spot. One of the reasons Turtle Bay was such a great spot is that right up current was an existing oyster reef. And one of the best ways for oyster larvae or spat, essentially baby oyster, to form into a new reef is to attach itself to existing oyster shells. Plus, the depth and salinity of this area was ideal for us to build a brand new oyster reef.
A landlocked oyster bar in the middle of the state has become one of the most positively impactful restaurants to our saltwater estuaries in Florida. The Claremont Oyster Bar in Lake County recycles 2 to 3 tons of oyster shell every 2 weeks. Once the shell is separated, it is moved to a trailer and then hauled off to a section of land that Lake County government is letting CCA use. The shell will sit here for a minimum of 6 months to allow any bacteria or cross-contaminant to dry off before being deployed. From there, they loaded it onto a barge and made the journey to Turtle Bay. At the end of the day, what we created wasn't just an oyster reef.
Jeez, work. Yes, sir. Well done.
It wasn't just something that filters water, removes nutrients, prevents red tide, prevents blue-green algae, tastes good, creates a positive economic impact, looks pretty. We built a home for the fish.
I guess there's no more questions about why we should support CCA, right?
Absolutely not. That was amazing. That's very special. All right, we're getting big bass reports in from the Startron Central West and Dynapack Southeast regions. Plus, we're talking with our friend from Real Legends. So keep those lines tight, and we'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, Your Fish, Our Science, Bahio Sunglasses, Blue Light Blocking, Radically Clear Lenses, Sea Sucker, Easy On, Easy Off, Incredibly Strong, Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure, Kubota, Together We Do More, Front Runner Boats, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA, and Yanmar ASV, a leader in compact equipment.
Well, as you can see, joining me now is Sean Farrell from Bell's Real Legends. You know, Sean, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Real Legends brand?
Real Legends was launched over 25 years ago. The prints are all designed by local artists in Bradenton, Florida. The features and technologies are all sourced and carefully selected to offer reliable protection and comfort for whatever adventure awaits. What started as a t-shirt and short brand 25 years ago has evolved into a leading outdoor and fishing apparel performance brand.
Yeah, what kind of product can we expect to find in the new Real Legends store?
Great question. The store will always have the latest styles and technology that fit the performance needs of the outdoor enthusiast. In addition, we'll have a new line of apparel fit for those who find adventure on land rather than water. Think hiking, camping.
Absolutely. Now, will the store carry other things other than apparel?
Yes, the store will not only carry apparel for men's, ladies, kids, but they will also carry shoes, sunglasses, hats, and more.
Nice. So when will the store open, Bub?
The store opens, mark your calendars, Saturday, October 20th at North Lake Village in Okeechobee, with an exciting grand opening including gift card giveaways and other events.
So let me ask you one other question. Will the store carry anything besides Real Legends?
Well, Real Legends is the real star of the show. We're going to carry other brands like Salt Life, Gall Harvey, Hook, and Sunbum.
So if we want to know more about the information or even about the event, where can we go? What website?
Go to www.reallegends.com. That's REEL legends.com.
So that was pretty painless.
Yeah. There we go.
Good job, bud.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming in. I know it's a long ways to go, but Brie, we got to continue. Where are we going next?
Yes, we do. All right, bass are becoming the star species in the Star-Tron Central West region lately, so let's hear how we're catching them with Captain Jeff Page. Go for it, Page.
Okay. You know, bass fishing really has become more popular in our region, and I think it's due to the more accessibility to different lakes and ponds, and some of them just neighborhood lakes and golf course ponds that people live on, and they've gotten the green light that they can fish them, and they've gone out and bought rods and reels and tackle. And that's the cool thing about bass fishing is you don't have to have a big expensive bass boat, especially living in Florida, especially living in the Star-Tron Central West region. Now, we do have our mainstays of freshwater, be it the Myakka and Peace River, which the Myakka River goes right through the state park, and they not only have lakes, but canoes that you can rent and go out on the lakes and down the river and to the other lake, which is the lower Myakka Lake. We also have Lake Manatee, and then out in East Punta Gorda, we have the CL Webb Management Area, which has all kinds of lakes and bass fishing. You know, this time of year, especially fishing those rivers, it's not uncommon for you to get a bass as well as a tarpon and a snook up in these rivers. Something you're not uncommon with, Rick. You guys do it a lot down in the Everglades. And then as we get into winter, it's not uncommon in our region to catch bass in the middle of the day. Now, some of the lures that work really well are that 7 or 9 inch Bass Assassin worm. And the one that we like in our region is probably number one is the motor oil. You can rig it Texas with a slip weight to give it a little sink. And then topwater plugs, just about all of them work real good as long as the grass isn't that bad. Now, I've got a really cool picture tonight. That's Larry Maroney on the left. He's a local captain. And on the right, Cody Ricetta from DNR Automotive. And those two have been bass fishing together since they were little kids.
Nice. All right, let's stay inshore there, Captain Page.
Redfish, you know, we've had another good week of weather, Rick. And since that hurricane, the water's laid down, a little bit of churned up, dirty water has cleaned up. Lots of bait have pushed in the bay. And the mouth of all the rivers, the Manatee, the Little Manatee, and then as you get down in Charlotte Harbor, down there around Bull Bay and Turtle Bay, some big fish have pushed in on the outer bars, and the calm mornings, it's not hard to spot them at all. Once you've seen a big school of redfish raise up, you'll know the difference between redfish and mullet. That's what I always tell people. Now, a lot of these fish in these schools are 30-inch plus, so handle them carefully and get them back in the water. The calm morning, the Jaywalker 120 in the bone pattern is great for throwing long distances, and the hooks on them are really strong. If you're going to throw a soft plastic, a 1/4 or a 3-ounce jig head with a gulp or a fish bite works real well. And then if you want to use cut bait or live bait, chunk of ladyfish or a live pinfish work really good laying on the bottom on a 3/0 Trocor circle hook. My red picture tonight is with an army of people that fished with Captain Griffin Dean.
All right, we got to scoot through the offshore, bub.
All right, mangrove snapper, real quick. 70 feet of water on in rock, hard bottom areas, ledges, and rock piles, as well as inshore, Rick. 5 pilchards is the best bet, and bring a chum block. You can use shrimp on a jig head as well. I've got a really nice picture tonight of a big stud mangrove caught with Jason Full Send stock, and my last species tonight, gag grouper. The gag grouper bite's going off inshore and offshore. And if you want those bigger ones, 110 feet on out, there's been some really good fish caught on the ledges, live pinfish, or you can throw lip plugs over these hard bottom areas. And my last photo tonight is of a happy client with Captain Josh Prunier of Rippin' Lips Charters.
Thank you so much, Captain Page. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hot spots from the Central West region. Captain Page says that good mangrove snapper fishing are holding in most of the Skyway Bridge rubble in South Tampa Bay. use live chunks or pilchers for bait. And then offshore, quality gag groupers holding on the ledges and hard bottom areas in as close as 70 feet of water off of Anna Maria.
Good size.
Good
macro
size.
snappers, I would say.
Yes.
All right, bass fishing in the Dynapack Southeast region can be done many ways and in some very unique and fun places. So let's see where Captain Jimbo Thomas has us casting. Hey, Jimbo.
Hey, Bree and Rick and Dave and everybody in the studio. Yep, in the Southeast region, largemouth bass and peacock bass, they can be found anywhere that you have fresh water. And one of the great things about bass fishing is that you don't need a boat. And in most areas, the weather is going to be calm, so you can get out of the weather, and it's not as much of a factor as when you're fishing offshore. Now, the Everglades, they have some great bass fishing, especially when the water levels are low, which concentrates the fish in the deeper holes, and catches of 50 or more fish a day are not uncommon. And when the water levels are high, those fish will move up onto the flats. They get more spread out, but the fishing can still be excellent. Now, the urban lake and canal system throughout the region, they offer some great bass fishing as well, and they're not affected by those water levels as much. Now, the bass, they typically bite best early in the morning and then late in the day and into the evening after that water kind of cools off. They don't like that hot water. Now, the peacocks do. Now, some of the best baits are live shiners, bass assassin artificial worms, rig Texas style, surface lures, crankbaits, and spinner baits, just to name a few. There's 8 million baits to catch a bass on. Now, I got a photo here. This is Andy Lauderdale with an Everglades bass. It's not very big, but what they lack in size out in the Everglades, they make up with quantity. So you go out there and catch 50 of those things.
That's for sure.
Now, the snook fishing remains good in the inlets and also in the surf and off the beaches. The inlets, you want to fish with live baits, herrings, pilchers, pinfish, mullet, and croakers. Or you can bounce R&R flare hawk jigs or soft plastics along the bottom. Evenings is when those snook are going to bite best. Snook, they've been biting on both tides, but the outgoing seems to be a little better, mainly because the water's not going to be as clear. They've also been off the beaches. There's been some bait coming down the beaches, so you got snook following them, and you can catch those snook from the shore or by boat. If you're shorebound, try walking the beaches early in the morning or late in the afternoon. Cast green and white bass assassin or gulp 4-inch jerk bait into the trough just off the beach. And if you can see some bait fish, you want to match the hatch. If they're eating mullet, use a mullet-looking bait. If they're eating pilchards, use a pilchard-looking bait. If the seas are calm, which we have, and the water clear, you might also be able to sight fish these snook cruising in the surf. The smaller fish are roaming in schools. The larger ones have been in singles or pairs. Got another photo here. This is Captain Jay Bruns with a couple of nice government cut snook. Nice. I don't know if those are legal or not, but they are nice ones.
Yep.
Now, offshore, wahoo are still being caught on a regular basis. Live baits have been getting a few bites, but if you really want to target these wahoos, you want to go trolling for them. If you're out there dolphin fishing and come across a floater, there's a pretty good chance that there's going to be a wahoo underneath that floater. You can drop a jig or a live bait down at 30 to 100 feet. You might get a bite, but trolling, a deep diving lure, or a planer with a ballyhoo or a strip bait is going to work the best. Also, there's been some larger wahoos caught just kind of out in the middle, out in the blue, up to 45 pounds. And those fish have also been caught. You want to get your bait down a little deeper and using a planer or a wireline outfit. And those bigger wahoo have been in the 200 to 700 foot range. Got another photo here. This is a nice wahoo we caught last week. He ate a strip bait pulled behind the planer aboard the Thomas Flyer.
All right.
And then we're still finding dolphin, although it's been very hit or miss. Anywhere from 5 to 20 miles offshore, anything floating's been holding schoolies in the 4 to 8 pound range, a few bigger ones mixed in. There's been very little sargassum coming through, and it's been scattered at best, but we do have birds working over most of the fish and over the floaters, pointing them out to us. So catching the fish is the easy part. You just got to find them. Now, you want to control rig ballyhoo, small lures, and feathers. And once you locate the fish, small live baits, pilchers, blue runners, or cut bonita and ballyhoo has been working And remember, if you do find something floating, there's a good chance there's a wahoo underneath it.
That's good advice there, Jimbo. We appreciate all your hard work each week. We're going to go and take a look at the Black Oak LED hotspots from the southeast region. He says inshore, look for the snook in all the area inlets off of the beaches in the early morning and the evenings, where they are eating both live and artificial baits. And then offshore, head offshore in search of bird activity, floating debris, and weed lines. Be ready to catch a dolphin with a rigged ballyhoo, small live baits, and cut bonitas. You know, Jimbo's always got it going on in the Alta Compact Equipment corner, doesn't he?
He really does. The dolphin has just been so weird this year.
Yeah.
It's just been like out of this
Better
world.
late than never.
Better late than never, absolutely. All right, the Discover Crystal River Northwest region is looking pretty good for our weekend ahead. But first, Dave has some pretty good-looking Taco Marine new products over there at the CCA workbench.
Yes, we got some cool stuff from Real Legends. Good Florida stuff, you know. I'm a Florida boy. I like my Florida stuff.
I like that too. That's unisex. I'll take that home. We'll be back. Take it home.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Penn, let the battle begin. Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Certainly, I love trolling the edge with Taco Marine here at the CCA Workbench. Dave, new products. I love this about the show each and every week because I have no idea what you're going to say, how the train can come off the track.
Yeah, it's my favorite part as well. You know?
Absolutely.
Plus, I get to keep some
Boys
of the
with
stuff.
toys.
So, you know, exactly. Anyway, we're going to talk first about the Secure My Lure, little plastic bubbles there that let you transport all your lures and stuff safely. If you have a hook or a jig or anything that's, we like to, put them on the eye of our, of one of the guides or something. And, if you're using a treble hook and you put it in some of these eyes nowadays, it scratches them up or it'll make the inserts come out. Well, this is a really cool way to secure your stuff and secure yourself from getting poked and all the stuff getting tangled up in all those treble hooks. And that's what these little polypropylene bubbles do. And, they're really pretty cool little deals. They come in 4-inch, 6-inch, 8 1/4 inch, so they'll hold some big lures, and they get pretty big around too. So you could put almost a chartreuse bomber in there. It's
Can you
really
wash
big.
your lure inside there?
Exactly. You just if you want to go to spray everything off, they all have vent holes and everything, so you can just spray them in there when they're in there.
Nice.
Drains nice. It's securemylure.com with no E. Secure My Lure.
All right. What else we got
We're
this
going
week?
to go with those the Berkeley cutters there. Berkeley Cutter Saltwater. These are the 2 3/4 inch and the 4 3/3 inches, a 70 millimeter and a 90 millimeter. These are the little ones, the 70 millimeters. It's a suspending jerk bait. Works that upper water column as well. You can rip it, you can twitch it, you can just slow retrieve it. It's going to work no matter what. It's got that little coffin-shaped bill on it that keeps it really tight wiggle.
What do you think about the hooks, Dave?
They're great hooks. They got the Fusion 4X, 3X hook on there, so they won't rust. And there's really, you don't have to change them out. You're going to catch anything that eats that thing with those hooks on there. So you don't, really nice. Comes in a lot of different colors, 10 colors. You got a little.
Look,
your
here's
color
our
wing.
color ring. There's our color ring.
These are all the colors that they come in.
Different saltwater colors. You could use a lot of these colors in freshwater. Obviously, it looks like a shiner. And chartreuse certainly works in silver and whatnot.
I kind of like those ones right there.
Yeah, I know you do.
I like the white and the gold.
Yeah, the black and gold.
Yeah, they work really well.
All right, we go to berkeleyfishing.com on that?
Yes, sir. And purefishing.com. Next, we're going to go to Fish Bites for the longer lasting. These are the Easy Periwinkle Clam. They're purple.
This is new.
Yeah, it's very new, just like a clam. Purple, 1/2 inch wide by 12 inch long strands, just like all the Fish Bites. I get like 24 baits out of there. I can't believe you're eating that stuff. Anyway, you can cut it, you can hook it, and cast it. You don't have to do anything else. I know it tastes like mashed potatoes.
Instant
mashed potatoes.
And my mother, that's what she made me. That's why I'm so messed up, because I had to eat instant mashed potatoes.
Not me, man. Anyway, like I said, you can use it by itself. I use it all the time in the surf, and I use it to catch flounders. If you put it on a little hair jig, a little pompano jig, it's a flounder killer as well. Because, flounder, they like to grab stuff and they have to hold on to it. And if you're just using a plain jig, they might not hold on to it as long as they will that fish bites, because that enzyme and stuff in there really makes them stick.
Right.
So go out there and get you some of that fish bites.
And I love that it
fishbites.com.
doesn't ever fall off the hook.
Right. That's got mesh inside there, so it doesn't come off.
All right.
Last but not least, we got these Real Legends. You're going to start with that one. That's the long sleeve performance. It's got the nice Florida seal on the back. I really like this.
I love this.
I really like that shirt.
I'm so happy that it's not your size.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, it could be. We just wouldn't want to look at me wearing it. It's lightweight and breathable. It's a moisture wicking tech. Really quick dry. It's a high tech shirt. So, and we got the men's bonefish short that goes there. Lightweight, water resistant, front and back pockets. UPF 50 as well. And this is the short sleeve woven shirt. These are made from 88% cotton and 22% polyester, so they still have a nice little stretch to them. Very light.
Know it well.
Yeah, ventilation in the back, snag resistant, especially. A lot of cotton shirts will snag. These are very hard to snag. So.
And the shorts?
But they're the Ridge short, UPF 50. Again, they're snag resistant. They have a nice elastic waist, which I really appreciate.
These may be big enough for you, Dave.
Yeah, maybe. 5 pockets and a 7-inch inseam. So
all right.
Get those Ridge shorts from
RealLegends.com.
RealLegends.com.
Well, there you have it, guys. We're over here.
You're looking good over there.
The
Real Legends has some really snazzy things.
They do.
Snazzy.
And that's snag resistant. That's pretty good too.
I'm digging it.
I have to say. All right, the Discover Crystal River Northwest region has your best spots on lock, along with some other salty species. So talk to us, Hag.
We have some great bass fishing in my region. We have thousands of lakes and ponds. Most of our bigger fish are caught in the winter months when the fish are spawning. Shiners, plastic worms, hard baits are all effective, all stuff you've heard today. We also have a unique way of catching them up here. A lot of guys will cast net live shad, little shad, they're about 3 inches long, and fish them just like they're snook fishing on the saltwater flat. They'll get out there and pitch them out with a bat, get them popping, get them fired up, and then throw a little shad out there with a circle hook and a little float right there and catch them that way. It's really cool getting them popping like that and getting to see what's out there. Also, slow troll and shiners over grass beds is super effective in my region. Jigging the bass beds is also very effective and done a lot in my region. We have a ton of parks in my region with lake access, pond access. You don't have to have a boat to go bass fishing. Check with local parks and recs, and you can figure out which lakes you can actually fish, or a local bait shop will help put you in the right direction in your area. So you don't need a boat to go out there and get them. Moving inshore, Captain Jim Pollard of Big Daddy Sport Fishing Charters reports a very good redfish bite right now. He's targeting redfish in the deeper potholes and grass flats, live chumming the potholes as he moves through the flat, looking for fish activity. He's also finding trout in that area too. And with the current temperatures being a little lower right now, he's using live pilchards, 5-foot leader, 2-aught trocar circle hook. And I got a photo here of a nice pair of redfish from Captain Jim this last week.
Nice. All right, what else you got for us this week, Bubba?
Moving offshore, Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters reports a great gag season opener right now. It opened up the first week of September, and it's been on fire since. Catching them right now in anywhere from 150 to 250 feet of water, using 80 to 100 pound fluorocarbon leader, an 8 to 10 ounce lead, depending on the current, and a 6 to 8-aught trocar circle hook. He's finding most of his fish right now on ledges. Moving up the coast a little bit, Captain Mario also reporting a good gag grouper bite right now. He's fishing the nearshore rock piles in 4 to 8 feet of water. And as strange as that is, with the water temperature being so warm right now, he's doing this as a bycatch while he's out there scalping. Little free line pinfish out the back of the boat on top of one of those, or spearfishing them. He's been landing some fish up to 27 inches on those shallow water rock piles, and some 30-inch fish in a little bit deeper water. I got a photo here of Matthew Fernandez with a 27-inch gag caught in 5 feet of water. He grabbed while out there scalloping, a little gag noodling. He invented a new sport.
Nice. That's cool.
All right. I also got a photo from Captain Rob of a beautiful gag caught on the Big Nasty.
Nice. That is a big gag. God, I'd love to catch one that big. All right, tell me about the mangrove snappers.
They've been really good on the offshore reefs and wrecks right now off the west coast. Anywhere from 25 to 40 feet of water. Any rock pile have them right now, any ledge. Live sardines, small pinfish, or shrimp are baits of choice. Knocker rig's been working the best. Just enough lead to get to the bottom. Or free line them out the back of the boat with a lot of chum. Drifting them back, you can bring them up just like those yellowtail snapper in our region.
All right, Bub, thank you so much. Great report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Ozella Key marina hotspots from the Northwest region. Hag says that we're going to check out the redfish on the top of the tide in the deep cuts adjacent to the mangrove shoreline or those flats. Use cut bait with a 4.0 trocar circle hook, and then offshore, snappers on the high relief structure in 25 to 40 feet of water. Use shrimp, sardines, maybe a little light lead on a knocker rig, and maybe a 1.0 trocar circle hook. You gotta be sneaky on the mangoes.
Gotta be sneaky.
Sneaky.
Just like that guy that was gag noodling while you're scalloping. Can we ever see you do that? Yeah, come on. You just have to get in the water once.
Listen,
that's all it takes.
I don't like it anymore.
You stay in the boat. I
stay
get it.
in the boat.
All right, Bears fans, from now until next week, the end of our season already, we want you to send in your favorite fish photos for a chance to win one of our 500th episode prints just like this. All you have to do is scan that QR code on your screen and click the giveaway link to fill out the form. The winner will be announced on our show next week, our season finale. Good luck in tight lines. We've already had some amazing photos come through. You guys are awesome. All right, well, we're headed up to the front runner boats Northeast and Seasucker Panhandle regions next, so do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. Oh, happy faces. Happy to be here.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron. Start, run, and store with StarTron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Tin Cup, Mountain Whiskey. The Florida Keys and Key West, come as you are. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
So you know, Brie, Yamaha is just not a motor company, but one of the things that I love about Yamaha is that they constantly are monitoring our rights to fishing as well as a lot of other things. Let's take a look at what Right Waters means to Yamaha.
Let's do it.
Yamaha Right Waters is a sustainability initiative created by Yamaha U.S. Marine Business Unit. It started with a legacy of fish conservation and has become a global Yamaha effort. The Yamaha Right Waters portfolio of partnerships and projects are designed to generate measurable environmental results and to encourage other stakeholders. The Yamaha Right Waters logo was designed to incorporate both land and water because water resource management begins on the land. Focus areas address issues affecting water and inland and marine fisheries vital to Yamaha's customers. Working to clean up marine environments, managing the threat from invasive species, restoring and creating marine habitats, and supporting academic marine research. Here's some of what Yamaha Right Waters is doing. Working with conservation organizations such as Keep Tennessee River Beautiful to organize and execute waterway cleanups. Powering research vessels for O-Search, an organization conducting a wide variety of research with the goal of promoting healthy oceans. And promoting the use of sustainable marine fuels to reduce water acidification and its damaging effects on marine environments. Second-generation biofuels are available, and Yamaha successfully demonstrated EcoGen, a sustainable marine fuel produced by VP Racing, at the 2023 Miami International Boat Show and the 2023 American Boating Congress. Yamaha also demonstrated pure fuels by Hyperfuels at the NMMA Boating Technology Day in Sacramento, California. Yamaha's efforts at these events showcased the ease and effectiveness of drop-in alternative fuels to elected officials, regulators, and industry professionals. All of this is Yamaha Right Waters. What started with a history of conserving fisheries and fish habitat has grown into a true sustainability program. To learn more and get involved, please visit YamahaWrightwaters.com.
That was awesome. I feel like a lot of people don't know that about Yamaha, so good to know. All right, when it comes to our bass fishing, you know what? Our captain of the Front Runner Boats Northeast region explains it so perfectly. Tommy, take it away.
Thanks, Brie. I appreciate that. Yeah, hey, we have a great bass fishing fishery here in the Front Runner Boats Northeast region. And I have a lot of really great memories when I was a little kid catching bass. And and those bass, they're available in just about any freshwater pond, big or small. And that's really one cool thing about bass fishing around here. Aside from maybe just a little puddle, just about any body of freshwater is going to hold some largemouth bass. Now, I call the bass, I think I say this every year on the show, I call them a gateway fish. And what I mean is a lot of people start off just fishing for bass in their backyard or their neighborhood, and they have so much fun doing it. It leads them to get more into saltwater fishing and ultimately into the species that we talk about here on the show every week. So that's really cool. Now, bass fishing, it's also a great way to go catch some fish for the angler that maybe has limited time to go fishing. A bunch of my buddies, they can go to one of their ponds right by their house after work. They can catch a couple nice bass and still be home in time for dinner, unless the bite was really good, maybe not. But we do have some of the best trophy bass fishing around here in and around the St. Johns River. Now, I spoke to St. Johns River fishing guide Scooter Goodson. He tells me he's been catching a lot of his bass on live shrimp lately. Those shrimp are running in the St. Johns River right now. Now, one cool thing about fishing in the river this time of year is you can definitely catch some big bass, but you can also catch redfish, trout, flounder, even the occasional snook or tarpon, depending on how far up the river you're fishing. Now, Scooter said, right now, the bass are going to be up shallow early in the mornings when it's cool. Then they're going to move out a little deeper as the day heats up. Now, he did say that he's been catching most of his bass, those deeper water bass, on a Bass Assassin plastic worm in the June bug blue tail color. That seems to be a favorite right now. Now, Scooter said as it cools off in the next few months, those bass are going to get a lot more active. They're going to stay up shallower during the day. It should be really good. And Scooter sent me a picture I got here. This is his son, Lane Goodson, and Paxton Sweat with a couple of big old St. Johns River bass that they caught. Nice fish there, guys.
All right, stay inshore.
Now, moving over to the saltwater side of things. Yeah, the redfish bite continues to be strong this week. The topwater bite has really turned on with these cooler mornings we've been having. That Berkeley Jaywalker 120, man, it has been the lure of choice for me and my clients. For the redfish and a few trout and jacks as well, they've been absolutely crushing that thing first thing in the morning. Huge schools of finger mullet are making their way throughout the region right now. Locate those schools of finger mullet, toss your plug around them. That's going to work real well. Now, the afternoon low tide creek fishing has been good as well. Net some of those mullet and then fish the bottom of the creek bends on the last couple hours of that outgoing tide. It's going to be a good bite. And then also the bull reds have really started to show up in better numbers over the last couple of weeks. The Volano Bridge in St. Augustine has been a hot spot, as well as the channel edges there in the St. Johns River around the Dames Point Bridge into Mayport. Now, with all the small mullet around, the ladyfish, they've been thick. So if you can catch a couple of those ladyfish, chunk them up, they make really great bull redfish cut bait on the bottom. And I've got another picture here. This is my man Noah with a really nice redfish that he caught on that Berkeley Jaywalker plug that was earlier this week with me in St. Augustine. And man, beautiful sunrise, beautiful fish, and he smashed that Berkeley topwater.
Nice.
Now moving offshore, guys, the snapper. I spoke to Captain Jimmy Layler from the Legend Fishing. He had a couple of great reports for me. Captain Jimmy says the mutton and the mangrove snappers, they're still chewing, but they have moved out a little bit, a little deeper this week, out to about 160 foot and out. Now, Jimmy said there's also a few groupers in those same areas, so you might get lucky there. Dead baits are working fine, but the live stuff like a pinfish, cigar minnow, really any kind of live bait is really going to be the go-to. Now, the ocean, there's a big swell out there. It's been a little bumpy. So, the current might be ripping this weekend, but we'll have to wait to see. It might calm down a little bit for us. Now, also offshore, there's some huge amberjacks around this week, also according to Captain Jimmy Ladler. Now, he's targeting those AJs over a structure with high relief or structures that come up high in the water column. Now, Jimmy said they don't have to be big structures. He said even those smaller ledges, as long as they come up a good bit off the bottom, they're going to hold those AJs. Now, he's mostly using big live grunts for bait, but you know, those AJs, they're going to eat a variety of jigs as well. They're pretty easy to please. You're going to want to fish a little bit up in the column for those AJs. And I do have one last picture here. How about this glory shot from Captain Jimmy and the guys over there at Legend Fishing Adventures? I think they caught a couple fish that day. What do you guys think?
Man.
Just a few.
Just a few, exactly, like Brie said.
Just a few.
Thank you so much, Tommy. I love the fact that you're late in the show because it keeps me awake looking for all of those pictures.
Yes, beautiful pictures, Tommy,
Yes,
like every week.
as always. All right, bud, thank you so much. We're going to take a look at the strike zone hot spots from the Northeast region. Tommy says the fish in the inshore are around the schools of finger mullet, with the Berkeley Jaywalker throwing a topwater at low light, and then switch to live finger mullet and saltwater assassin paddle tails when the sun comes up to make sure you catch those redfish. And then offshore, a mixed bag of AJs, snappers, and groupers are a little deeper this week, and 160 and deeper.
Redfish at sunrise. There's no better way to start the day. All right, let's slide on into the Sea Sucker Panhandle region and see what we're reeling in with Captain Pat Deneen this fine September weekend. Hi, Pat.
Hey, Bree, I tell you what, we have plenty of rivers, ponds, reservoirs in the Sea Sucker Panhandle region offering lots of bass fishing opportunities. The Choctahatchee River, Apalachicola River, Escambia River, they're all very popular rivers for the bass fishermen. They're mainly targeting the deeper bends and the sloughs off the main channel. Lakes Talcott and Seminole are two really big reservoirs north of I-10 that are also extremely popular with the bass fishing crowd. And then we have the numerous golf course, neighborhood, and private ponds, as well as smaller lakes like Hurricane Lake, Lake Carrick, and the coastal lakes in South Walton. For those guys that just want to fish close to home and not make a whole day of it. The ponds in Sandestin are well known for their bass, both in numbers and size. For the most part, access to bass fish in the Panhandle is good, and the better fishing seems to be spring and fall, with the biggest fish caught in the spring. So we do have that fall coming up, basically the transition months. Black and purple worms, spinner baits, crank baits are all popular by the guys up here targeting the bass. And there's a photo of Dave Miller from Destin. He's an avid pond fisherman. He catches some really nice sized bass out of some very small neighborhood ponds. He's that lunchtime bass angler, and that's the fruit of his labor right there. So that's awesome.
Good for you.
And then, staying inshore redfish, just like Tommy was saying, there should definitely be on the radar. This is the time of year when they're really beginning to school up in our bay systems. It's not uncommon to find them busting bays on the surface, and it's certainly very common to find them on the deeper bridge systems like the Bob Sykes Bridge, the Mid-Bay Bridge, and the Hathaway Bridge. And these are all big, long bridges in the middle of the bays. So where are you going to fish? To locate them, you want to either slow troll live baits on a Carolina rig or pull a lip diving plug, while you're paying attention to your bottom machine and your side scanner. Once you find the fish, stay in that area. Fish either with jigs or free line live baits. Baits of choice are going to be croakers, menhaden, and spot minnows. Tarpon, big jack crevalles, and mangrove snappers are also hanging around that same area right now, so don't be surprised by them. There's a photo of Brad McCluskey of St. Louis with a nice redfish he caught on Mid-Bay Bridge in Choctahatchee Bay. So this is the time of year to go hit those areas. Moving offshore, the vermilion snappers are primarily being targeted. They can be caught fairly close in water as shallow as 60 feet, but the better fishing is deeper, 130 to 160 feet. I talked with Captain Tony Davis from the Anastasia out of Destin, and they had a very nice mess of vermilions with many pushing 4 to 5 pounds. Captain Tony said that they had to bounce around a bit to find the better grade, and the deeper spots seemed to be holding them. Use a 2 or 3 hook chicken rig, 2-aught circle hooks, baited with cut minnows or squid. Triggerfish, porgies, and of course red snappers are common bycatch, while beeliner fishing and the red snappers are open in state waters through the weekend, so keep that in mind. Then finally offshore, the gag grouper are open for harvest. At least one angler should be targeting gag groupers or groupers while offshore bottom fishing. You want to use heavier tackle. You want strong enough terminal tackle to quickly turn that grouper after the bite and get them off the bottom away from their holes. Fish your lead, excuse me, right off the bottom. Use bonita strips, pinfish, octopus, and butterfly dead baits as bait. But you can also bounce a slow pitch jig or a big bucktail jig, sweeten with strip bait right off the bottom. Gags can exceed 30 pounds. They're mostly running probably that 10 to 15, 10 to 18 pound range. But scamp and red groupers are also welcome bycatch while targeting gag groupers.
Pat, I appreciate it this week. I would love to catch a 30-pound gag grouper with you someday, bud. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Pat says that we're going to slow troll live croakers along the Mid-Bay Bridge for redfish, jack crevalles, and tarpon. Put 2 baits near the bottom using a slip lead, and then a 3rd bait fished unweighted. And then offshore, load up on the live well with hardtails and make the long run to the rigs for yellowfin tunas. The Apoximo and the Blind Faith areas has been consistent. Fish the upcurrent side.
You know, I feel like between Pat and Hag, we could make this gag dream happen of yours.
You
What do
think?
you think? I think we can make it happen.
I don't know.
I don't know.
man.
All right, let's show our support for Florida's fisheries with a Conserve Florida's Fisheries license plate. For just $25, proceeds for the redfish tag support protecting and enhancing Florida's saltwater, marine resources, habitat restoration, water quality, and coastal environmental education. Visit your local DMV or visit redfishtag.com.
Brie, think of how many oyster reefs we could make if everybody had a $25 tag. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
All
That
right.
would be fun. All right, we're seeing what the Keys has to offer us coming right up. But before we go, make sure you take a look at the QR code on your screen to enter into the world of all things fishing, including all of our social media pages. Check out our new website. It's looking pretty good, and we will be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. Real Legends. Available at bellsflorida.com. Dynapack. Your partner on the road. And Taco Marine. Troll the edge.
Dan Benson from Power Pole Shallow Water Anchors with some very exciting news. You can now operate your Power Pole Shallow Water Anchors using your Garmin Fish Finder. You use the Power Pole Sea Monster Gateway and hook it into your NEMA backbone, which talks to the anchors and talks to your Garmin Fish Finder. With the Fish Finder, you have the ability to operate your right anchor or your left anchor or run duals at the same time. You can also adjust the speed of how you would like the anchors to go, fast, medium, or slow. It's very simple to put on your screen. You simply touch the button here to add toolbars. You can add it to the top of the Garmin or the bottom of the Garmin. You have the ability to add different screens, chart plotter, fish finder, and shallow water anchors from your Garmin Fish Finder. For more information, go to powerpole.com or garmin.com to see which fish finders have the ability to control your Power Pole shallow water anchors. And that's your Power Pole.
So you know, Brie, I have no idea really what Danny's talking about.
Yes.
At PowerPole, but what I do know is that you can go to Garmin.com or PowerPole, and they have people there to assist you through all of that.
Yep.
You know, not only could I not pronounce the word in the Panhandle region, but I didn't know what the NEMA backbone is when it comes to that on my stuff. But I'm going to learn today.
Admitting is the first step brought to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna learn.
Powerpole.com. Here we come. All right, this week our species is not really a Yanmar ASB Keys resident, but Captain Sarah Stanzik has plenty to talk about, so not to worry. Go for it, Sarah.
Hey everyone. Yeah, you know, if you come to the Florida Keys expecting to catch a bass, you've made a poor life decision. So we do not have this desirable freshwater trophy in our oceans, but we do have a wide variety of other species that can thrill anglers worldwide. September is a transitional month here in the Keys where anglers can target iconic shallow water species such as the elusive bonefish, the powerful permit, and the ever-challenging tarpon. If shallow water angling is not your preferred endeavor, the variety of pelagic species migrating south to the Florida Straits include blackfin tuna, wahoo, mahi, and the occasional sailfish. If you do find yourself here in the sanctuary of the Florida Keys paradise and you must catch a bass to complete your life, A simple 1-hour car ride to the Everglades mainland area is where you can target those sought-after bass species. So it is not impossible, but technically you wouldn't be in the Keys region anymore, so this is where I'd sign off. Unfortunately, I don't have a bass photo either for this report, for obvious reasons. We're going to move on to inshore.
Sarah, I'm loving this. I'm loving it.
I love it. Tell me inshore what's
Hopefully
happening.
that was a little entertaining for everyone.
I
don't know what else
love
to talk
it. It was
about.
awesome.
Very.
Redfish. So we target redfish in many areas that you would also find snook, like near old tree limbs, mangrove roots or structure. Live bait on a jig head or a bare hook with a split shot works great. Either a live shrimp or pilchard, anything like that. 30-pound leader, nothing fancy. It's pretty easy setup. Artificial baits work well too, like soft plastics rigged in a weedless fashion. Here's a photo. This is a nice picture of a double-header redfish caught with Captain Bill Bass.
Nice. All right, let's go offshore then.
Offshore, we've had a really good yellowtail bite the past week. Has been nice. Lots of nice-sized fish being caught, good conditions. You want to anchor in 60 to 90 feet of water. Use lots of chum with oats, and some sand can help too if you mix it all together. Make chum balls with that. Off the back of your boat, throw everything in the water. Look for good movement. Chum a lot. Use those balls. Fluorocarbon leader is a must with a small jig head and a tiny piece of cut-up bait like shrimp or ballyhoo. You want your hook with the bait to mimic a piece of chum. So just a small little chunk, and you drift it back there with the chum is the idea. Our big yellowtails will happily eat a live pilchard too, but the little baits work great. You just got to be patient. Sometimes you'll sit there for an hour or more, and if you just got to chum and wait, they'll finally come up to you. But, they're fun to catch when you kind of get the tricks down. A light spinning gear is all you need, like a Penn battle reel is perfect. So here's a photo of the photo doesn't do it justice, but they were like big, nice yellowtails. They were just laying on the fillet table about to be someone's dinner.
Yes.
They were nice.
Tell me about the mahis.
And mahi, we're still having a really good mahi bite late in the year right now, so it's not common to be talking about such a good hot mahi bite in this September, but they're here still, so later in the season, but no one's complaining. If you want to target mahi, you head offshore, look for signs of life around 500 feet. On average, they can be shallower or deeper than that too, but look for weed lines, look for debris floating, look for birds diving up and down on the bait, look for bait or fish jumping out of the water, just signs of life. And you can troll lures through those areas of action to get bites, or you can cast baits out at fish that you see. So there's different ways to kind of target them. But here's a boatload of mahi, and there's some really nice blackfin tuna there, caught aboard the Provider.
Nice.
Living up to his name.
Love it.
So, Sarah, today I approved a YouTube video for the Captain Rick Murphy
You
YouTube channel, and it
approved
was you and Brie actually lobstering. Man, that just looked like so much fun, and I love the fact that buoy netting, I don't have to get in the water. Will you and Brie take me to do that one time?
Oh, for sure. That was so much fun. I can't wait to see the video. When is it going live?
Oh, well, I gotta keep it a little bit secret, but we'll be
Soon.
promoting it, and certainly we love the aspect that you guys help us promote it all the time.
Sarah's got the music
Yeah.
to go along with buoy netting. Let me tell you, her playlist
Oh, yeah.
is amazing.
It's the club.
Yeah.
Club X3.
X3. Here we
man.
come. Tell us what.
I was really pretty jelly when I saw that, man. It was pretty cool. So I'm going to be calling you about that. We're going to set a date for the 4 or 5 of us to go.
Let's do it.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boats, hot spots from the Florida Keys. Our girl Sarah says tarpon are biting around the bridges and the shorelines on the outgoing tide is best with live mullet and crabs would be the perfect bait options. And then offshore, nice blackfin tuna bite on the humps and the offshore, live pilchards and cigar minnows, vertical jigs, poppers will get you bites when you're drift fishing, or maybe you can troll behind your boat.
I love that little sassiness we got from Sarah.
Yeah,
her
man.
little bass report.
Yes.
That was cute. All right, let's take a look at some tournaments going on in the Florida Keys. First is the Key Largo Rotaries Take Stock in Children Backcountry Challenge, which allows fishing day and night from Friday, September 22nd to Sunday the 24th, then presents awards for releases of redfish, snook, and trout in adult and junior divisions. Then is the Isla Mirada Fall All-Tackle Bonefish and Permit Championship, October 9th through the 11th in Isla Mirada, where anglers fish for 3 days in 3 divisions, artificial, fly, and baits. Next is the Ladies Let's Go Fishing University and Fishing Fever Tournament in Isla Morada, where the ladies learn fishing skills October 14th during the Ladies Let's Go Fishing University, followed by the Fishing Fever Tournament on October 15th. And finally is the All-American Backcountry Fishing Tournament, November 9th through the 11th, where anglers fish for snook, redfish, bonefish, tarpon, and permit, with proceeds benefiting the Bonefish Tarpon Trust. For more information on Keys tournaments, visit flakeys.com. But you know what? I think we are all ready to get out there and catch some bass. But you know what? Stay with us so we can tell you what our last species of the 2023 season is for next week. Stay hooked. All right, next week, our theme species, we are talking wahoo.
Oh, I love those.
Wahoo, my second favorite offshore species. That'll be a fun
my
week.
favorite.
It's gonna be our last show, but that's okay, because everyone can keep up with us, you know, on YouTube and social media, blah, blah.
I think Dave this weekend should go catch a wahoo so we could have wahoo sushi in the studio next week.
I have to call my buddy Dan Jacobs.
Okay.
That sounds great.
That's
Go
it.
do that.
There's
Thanks
a
for
goal.
everybody in our studio audience. Thank you to our special guests, Real Legends, Alta. We'll see you next week. Have a good weekend.
I had pants on.